Hey guys, it's the Swingman here, giving you my latest update on my path to the World Long Drive Championship. So it's been an exciting weekend last weekend over in Rochester, and it was an amazing event put together by the Steenberg family. Big thanks to them and all the efforts they put in to help out the Golf Channel and making the whole event something special in hopes of bringing it back there next year. So anyways, if you haven't seen my initial video on my path to World Long Drive, check it out. I'll leave it in the link in the description below. But basically, this event in Rochester was kind of a freak thing that happened. So basically, it was an event in Brooklyn I was preparing for a month before this Rochester event, and ended up being canceled. They reimbursed me basically the money I paid to try to qualify. Essentially, it's $40 an attempt. They reimbursed me my 4 rounds I paid for, and what they did is they ended up supplying me with 6 free rounds at this Rochester one that they put together to make up for the Brooklyn event that they canceled. So it was absolutely a perfect situation for me. Rochester's only an hour away from my house, so my family, my wife, everyone was able to go watch, and it wasn't, for me, it wasn't too stressful because I just basically drove down the street to compete. So basically what I'm going to do is explain what I went through, and also how it's kind of organized, because it's more than just hitting the ball as far as you can. Obviously that's your goal, but there's a whole point system and stuff that is developed to try to make it interesting. So basically when I got there, there's a range there. I walked up, it was probably 7 a.m. The first tee times are at 8 for the grid. And I get onto the driving range, and first thing you got to do is check your clubs in. So I had 3 long drive clubs sent to me by my buddy Mike Knox down in North Carolina, who competed for quite some time, and he let me use these clubs. So I took him over to the tent, and they measure them. All my clubs were a ½ inch too long. I started freaking out because I thought, oh my goodness, these are my only drivers I could use besides my play drivers. And I see that the guy has all this equipment around him to adjust clubs and build clubs. So he's like, don't worry about it, I'll take care of you. And he was able to take the grips off, cut the clubs down, and make them, the 48-inch, which is the max length for these clubs. So thank goodness there's someone there to modify them, and it worked out that I was able to just use all my clubs I needed. So I get onto the range. There's a lot of guys there, so basically every hour there's 52 slots that were being filled up, and some guys would pay for multiple slots, but for the most part there's about 50 guys there. So I get into the very corner. I'm on one very edge of the range. There's only one spot left, and I start hitting. I start warming up, and I started doing my swing. There was a guy passing by. He's like, "Is that how you actually swing?" I'm like, "Yeah." He's like, "Oh, that's pretty cool." And I didn't know what people would think before I got onto the grid, where they could actually see how far I'm hitting it. But either way, I had to get warmed up. I met a few people. There's probably about, I would say, 8 guys that came up to me and shook my hand, and they knew me from Instagram. They saw my swing, and it was really cool because I right away I started just meeting good guys, good people. I mean, the atmosphere was just awesome with they're all athletes, so everyone really got along really well. So anyways, I get warmed up. I was the third group that went out after 8 o'clock. And you could see in that first round, I posted in this video, I had a 386-yard drive. It was my 4th swing of the day. And I outdrove the next closest by over 20 yards, all the way up until the end of the 8 o'clock slot. So I had the longest drive at 386. That one swing, absolutely gave me more confidence in the world than ever, because I really wasn't sure how I would match up against these guys. You know, my numbers were there in the simulator and stuff, but you know, you just never know, because these are guys coming from all over the world. There's guys from, you know, Germany, New Zealand, you know, just traveling, flying in to compete in this last qualifier to get ready for Worlds, their last attempt. So yeah, I had the 386 drive, which got beat in the first hour by a 389-yard drive. That guy, Mike Bauman, he's been in it for quite some time. I mean, that guy, I don't know what he does, but for his age, I hope I could move like him. He was in his mid-50s, and that guy could mash golf balls. But so I get, every hour there's a top 4 get put into the regional. So within that first hour, I came in second, so I got put into the regional for the afternoon session. So basically, because there's 4 hours of qualifying rounds, that gathers up 16 guys to go into the regional. So basically, because my other slots were prepaid for, my 9 o'clock and 10 o'clock slots, I just went out to get some extra practice on the grid, which you could see right there, I hit 391 my second round, which ended up being the furthest in all of qualifiers. So, but it didn't matter because I was already qualified after that first round. So we get into the afternoon. Before that, I was eating lunch, and all these guys on tour were watching, and guys started coming up to me, shaking my hand and asking about me, and it was really awesome because a lot of these guys I've been following on Instagram, and I'm big into long drive. It's everything that I believe in, which is hitting golf balls and or baseballs as far as possible. So I always enjoyed the sport for years. So all these guys, you know, I started meeting were guys that I've watched on TV and you know, been following for quite some time. So it was really cool. They loved my swing. You know, no one does anything like this right now. You know, there's some guys with some funky swings, but they aren't performing like I did. So it was really cool to see them appreciate what I was doing. So I get into the top 16, teed off at 130. I was in the first group, and it was kind of nerve-wracking. Basically, it's a whole point system, and this is how it's going to be set up in Worlds as well. Basically, there's 16 guys, and you're separated into 4 groups of 4. So you face off against 3 other guys. If you have the furthest drive, you get 3 minutes. Every round is 3 minutes, and you get 8 swings to take in those 3 minutes. So if you have the furthest drive in your group, you get 200 points. Second place gets 100. Third place gets 50. Fourth gets 25. However, if you miss the grid, all 8 swings, you get 0 points. So you do not want to miss the grid because those points could show up later. My first round, I missed the grid in my first 5 swings with the no-ox step. And I knew I had to hit the grid, so I cut down to my normal swing, and I missed the grid slight right, slight left, and then my 8th swing, I put it right down the middle at 350, and which put me into 3rd place that round, but it bought me 50 points. So in the way the round robin works, it's all random groups. So that was my first set of 8. Everyone gets 5 sets, so and you're facing different guys every set. So I came in 3rd that round, got 50 points. I ended up winning my next round with the 378-yard drive. Beat the rest of the guys by like 30 yards. My 3rd round, I ended up winning that one. Same thing, it was somewhere just shy of 380. Now my 4th round, so now I have 200, I had back-to-back 200-point rounds, so I had 450 points. My next round, my 4th round, I ended up hitting my best drive, which was 392 yards. It was my 7th swing, and I was super jacked up about it. So in my head, I look up at the board, and no one's close to that. So my 8th swing, I just swing as hard as I possibly can, going for the 400, and I missed the grid. I look up at the board, and the kid next to me on his 8th swing hit 402 yards. Zach Custer, amazing athlete. great guy, and he he was the only one on the day that hit 400, and he had to do it on my round where I hit 392. So he swiped those extra 100 points from me. I ended up getting 100 points that round, which got me to 550 points. So now moving to the fifth round, the fifth and final round, I was in the final group. So I look up at the scoreboard. I had 550 points. The leader had 700 at that time. The group that was going just before me, a new leader came about with 800 points. So basically, I'm looking at the board. There's 800, 700, and 600, and I had 550. And no, rewind. It was 800, 700, 700. So the only way I could get in with 550 points is if I won my last round, because basically in the in the regionals, they only take the top 3 guys to go to Worlds. So I had to get 200 points to get into that top 3, which would put me in second place. So I get in there my fifth and final round. The guy next to me hit a 367-yard drive in his second swing. And I missed my first, I think, 3. Or I hit 1 in the grid, but it was only 358. And sure enough, it was my 4th swing, I believe. I hit it well. Hit it 376 to beat his 367, and that held out for the remaining swings, which got me into first place, got me to 200 points, got me to 750 total, and bought my ticket into Worlds down in Oklahoma on August 30th through September 4th, where I get to face off against the top 54 in the world from these qualifying rounds, but also 42 of the tour players, the top 42. So there's going to be 96 guys on the first day down there in Oklahoma, and September 3rd and 4th would be televised on the Golf Channel for the top 16 and the top 8. So, yeah, I'm going to Worlds, guys, and it's amazing because people from all over the world come and try to qualify for this. And, you know, I basically drove down the street with a couple of clubs sent to me and qualified myself with a ridiculous swing. And it was pretty wild too. So after my first round, when I hit 391, golf long drive instructor Bobby Peterson came up, introduced himself to me after my first round, and congratulated me. And he used to work for Crank, which that was a manufacturer of my club, and he could hear it when I was hitting it that something didn't sound right. So he asked to look at my club. Showed him it. Sure enough, the bottom of my club face was cracked. So I was down to 1 driver. Thankfully, he let me borrow one of his long drivers that he had from Callaway as a backup, in case something did happen to my 1 driver I had left. So it was pretty wild to know that, I was still using a cracked club and still was hitting it well. So, yeah, but it was an amazing experience. And not only that, after I was done, the next day my wife and I got invited to a little barbecue over at Ryan Steenberg, who at the time was number 1 but got surpassed in the world rankings by Kyle Berkshire as of this past weekend. We got invited to his family's house and got to hang out with, the top 30 long drivers in the world, and it was just an awesome time. They're like one big family, and they're trying to grow the sport, and they really did appreciate me being there. They think that my swing and my approach and everything is really going to help the sport, which makes me even that much more excited. So I ended up talking with the president of World Long Drive for the Golf Channel, and he was intrigued by my story. I told him everything about my Instagram and everything, and he was loving it. So he asked if I would be interested in going to Tennessee on the tour. It's the last tour event before Worlds to compete. And I didn't even know that was possible. I thought you had to be, you know, a tour pro to play. And he said, you know, there's other ways to get in if guys start dropping out and stuff. And he's like, just let me know if you're interested. I was like, man, if there is a way, absolutely. 2 days ago, I get an email, and they say that there's a slot available to get on tour if I want it. So I'm going on tour to Tennessee to compete against all the guys that were on the Golf Channel the other day. So this will be an awesome experience before Worlds. So basically, these are all the guys that I would have to beat to get that nice $125,000 prize down in Worlds. So yeah, it's happening all pretty fast, but I'm beyond excited about it. This sport is so much fun. The adrenaline rush I have when I go up on the tee box with all those people watching, and you see people chuckling about my swing, but then I connect with one and you hear the oohs and ahs. It was pretty amazing to be up there and just crushing golf balls. But and for those of you that wonder about the grid, this grid was actually up to 60 yards wide. They range anywhere between 40 and 60 yards wide, depending on what venue it is. But it was a nice grid. You did have to carry it 350 yards for it to get any roll. Anything before that, if you watched it, any of the finals on the Golf Channel, you'd see like a lot of guys were getting stuck at like 340. But then you see some around 370, 380 because they caught the backside of that 350 yard mark where there's a little bit of a downslope and they get some roll. But yeah, is like I said, a lot of fun. I'm gonna have a lot more stories to come as far as my long drive path, and I hope you guys are enjoying it as much as I am, which I doubt that because I'm having a lot of fun. But yeah, if you guys have any questions, check out my other video. As far as the no-ox step, I go through a tutorial on how to do it. I keep getting sent videos, which is amazing. I just made my second compilation. I have 47 videos from the last month, not including the 8 sent to me yesterday after posting that video. So keep sending them to me. Try it out. I honestly can say that you will gain yardage by doing it if you practice it. And yeah, I'll keep you guys updated on how training's going. And this tour event in Tennessee is August 10th, 11th, and 12th. So if I make it to the final 8 on the 12th, I will be on the Golf Channel, and you guys would absolutely be hearing about it before then. So I do appreciate you guys watching the video. I apologize for the length of it, but it was a lot going on, and I did want to fill you guys in. If you haven't already, please hit the like button and subscribe, and also head over to my Instagram page. Follow me at @theswingman_. Thanks for watching.
And another first timer here. Okay, pretty local. Guy from Buffalo. Woo! How about a big hand here for Jeremy Nowak?
Yeah.
Making his first trip to the World Championship.